In 1847, a king agrees with Panjurli Deva Bhuta, a local deity worshipped in its animist form by the people of Udupi and Dakshina Kannada, which are parts of Karnataka and Kasargod district of Kerala, to give a portion of his forest land to the locals in exchange for peace and happiness granted by a shaman who was supposedly possessed by Deva. He warns the king that his family and successors should keep the word and not reclaim the land, which will incur the wrath of Panjurli's companion, the Guliga Deva. In 1970, the king's successor asks the Bhuta Kola performer, who is supposedly possessed by Panjurli, to make the locals hand over the land to him, to which the performer denies. He raises the doubt on performer's possession by Panjurli, to which the performer replies he would vanish in the forest if he is indeed possessed by Panjurli, and then runs into forest and magically disappears, implying he was indeed possessed by Panjurli. The performer also warns the king's successor of a fateful ending when the latter threatens to take a legal action to reclaim land. The king's successor eventually dies a mysterious death a few months later, vomiting blood on the steps of the court, as warned by Panjurli. In 1990, Muralidhar is a forest officer tasked with converting that land into a forest reserve. He is challenged by Shiva, a Kambalar athlete from Kadubettu. Shiva is backed by his patron and the village's landlord, Devendra Sutturu, who is the king's successor in the present day. Murli and his staff start erecting a fence along the earmarked forest reserve. Shiva's girlfriend, Leela, is a newly recruited forest guard in Murali's staff. Shiva and the villagers try to stop the fence from being erected, but the police and forest guards brutally suppress them and erect it, which causes a rift between Leela and Shiva, even though she could do nothing about it. Meanwhile, Shiva is asked to perform the Bhuta Kola, but he denies as he is traumatized by the event of his father's mystical disappearance. As the feud between Murli and Shiva intensifies further, Murli decides to arrest Shiva and his friends and heads to their hideout along with Devendra's henchman, Sudhakara. However, Shiva and his friends go into hiding. A few days later, they return to their respective homes to meet their families, and Shiva makes up with Leela and tells her that he will surrender to the police, but the following morning, all are caught by the police and forest guards. When Shiva's cousin Guruva, who performs Bhuta Kola, requests Devendra to release Shiva, the latter tries to bribe him and asks him to tell villagers to return his ancestral land back to him on Bhuta Kola festival and make the villagers believe that it is indeed Guliga's word. Guruva refuses, due to which Devendra kills him. Devendra learns that Murli has figured out his ulterior motive and decides to set Shiva against him. Having learnt about Guruva's death, Shiva meets Devendra, who lies about Murli being Guruva's killer. Enraged, Shiva heads to kill Murli, but learns from his friend Mahadeva, the blacksmith, that Devendra himself is Guruva's killer. Shiva is attacked by Devendra's henchmen, Kumara and others, but manages to escape. After Murli tells Shiva about Devendra's motive of acquiring the land, Shiva meets the villagers and reveals that it was Devendra who killed Guruva. Devendra and his henchmen attack the village, where an intense battle ensues. Shiva, who almost gets killed in the fight, gets possessed by Guliga Deva